All right, so welcome back. So today I'm pleased to announce, of course, some people are already aware of this, but this is going to be the official announcement of the release of the trend engine. All right, so before I get started, how would you like this sort of results? All right, so make it about it's basically like 104% over the course of the year with a 10% drawdown. And of course, this was achieved using a 0.5 risk per trade. So you can look at all the parameters that we have on the um, backtest that we ran, of course, using the EA. So you could see all the various parameters. The key thing that we want to actually look out for here, you probably want to be looking at the profit factor, which is something that determines the profitability of a strategy over time. For those who are also interested, so that it gives you an idea of what to expect. You also want to look at the consecutive losses, right? You want to look at the consecutive losses. So, and then of course the average losses versus the average wins, because you always want to make sure that the average loss is always less than the average profits. That is what determines a long-term profitable strategy. All right, so this was actually achieved on just one pair, just on EU. And if we look at this, GU's results gets better, although of course there is usually a slight trade-off. So with GU, we are getting 116%, right? 116% with the maximum drawdown being around 12%. So that is, if we look at it, you'll see that the absolute drawdown is actually 209. So if we start from exactly where we started, then what you just would have lost is about 2%. However, the reason why we always pay attention to the relative drawdown, which is usually what reflects the maximum drawdown, is the fact that you could join, let's say for one reason or the other, you are starting your own, you start using the EA at maybe a peak, right? So when it's already up a couple of whatever, and then that is when you join, and then maybe the trend is changing, or we're then caught up in a consolidation. So you yourself could experience that relative drawdown. Of course, this is off 0.5%. I'm not yet going to talk about how to use it in terms of the risk management. We'll still get to that, just basically throwing the results out there. All right, so how does it work? So let's get over to MT4. Right, so it's very simple. All you need to do is you just drag the EA to your charts. All right, so when you drag the EA to your charts, there are a couple of settings that are there. So the first one is the trade start time. Now, there are two time values that are in the EA. You have the trade start time and the delete time, right? I recommend you stay with the defaults, or just make sure that it's not too far away from whenever your broker allows you to start trading. So almost all brokers allows you to start trading around 0:30, but at the same time, I ran a back test using 8 a.m. and it didn't really make much of a difference to the results. So it's really up to you to, of course, still run your own back test and then get the optimum listing for you. All right. So the main thing about the trade start time is that I'll have to close this to explain what I need to explain. All right. So when you go to your market watch, right? So let's assume we want to use EU. All right. You need to right click. You don't know how to open your market watch. It's basically Control M. Right click on EU and you will see specification. So when you click on specification, you're going to get this, and you scroll to the down. So you see sessions, quotes, trades. All right. So you need to make sure that the 2 times are coming after the start. right? So what you have here after this time that you have here. All right, so that's the main thing that you just need to watch out for when it comes to the timings. All right, so let's drag this back in here. All right, so then we have the risk per trade. So each trade has, this is not any of those crazy, uh, strategies, quote and off quote. It's not a martingale. It doesn't. It's not a great trading board. It's not a hedging EA. All those. I don't want to use funny, but all those things that are usually thrown all over the place. Of course, if you've ever used the martingale EA, you know that it usually looks like the results are so good, so good, so good, so good, until of course when you eventually, as it always happens, hit a losing streak. And when you hit that losing streak, eventually you're going to blow up your whole account. All right. So this is not any of that. You have a fixed SL, you have a fixed TP, right? So your risk per trade, you need to put in what you want to use. The default is 0.5%. I'll still talk about what you probably want to do with the risk, depending on what you are trying to achieve. Then the next thing you have there is the risk to reward ratio, that's the RRR. So the reward to risk ratio, we're at least pronouncing it the other way around. All right, so the default is 2.0, right? You could change it to whatever thing you want, but I think the default settings are fine the way they are. Then you have max slippage. You have max slippage. This will rarely matter, but occasionally it will matter. So it should be low. It should be low. The default is 0.5. It should not be more than 1, right? It should not be more than 1. All right, then the max daily trades, the backtest, the results on the backtest were gotten using a max daily trade count of 3. So I did most times, not even ideally, most times the way the EA works or the way the market generally tends to push, it will take about 1 trade majority of the time. More than 50 to 60% of the time is just taking 1 trade per day. About 25%, 30% of the time is going to take about 2 trades per day, right? If the volatility is quite much. Then on very, very rare occasions, I doubt if we have more than about 5 of this in a year where we have some really massive, crazy volatility within one day. So usually those things can just happen maybe when there is one unexpected, highly unexpected FOMC change, or for instance, when the Fed cut by 50 basis points, where people were not, it wasn't fully priced in, people were really not sure what they were going to do and all that. So those kind of crazy days and all that, you could still have up to that. So ideally, please don't, just leave that at 3. Just leave it at 3. Don't play with that settings. Use mitigation. All right. So usually when there is because this is a trend following system, so when there is a trend change, what usually happens is that there tends to be a bit of a pullback in the direction of the original trend, right, before the new trend fully kicks off. So sometimes it allows you the opportunity to close out your trades at a better position than you would have if it has if you just allow it to run to the SL, right? So of course, if it goes to hit SL before coming back to your mitigation level, it still closes. It just closes. We never take out our SL. The SL is always there permanently. All right. So for me, I leave it at false because after doing a whole lot of tests, I didn't really see the benefits with it. But of course, there was a slight. I think it's improved slightly on GU. On EU, there was really no change. The change was less than 1%. On EU, I think on GU rather, I think we had an increase in profit of about 7% or thereabouts, but it's not really something that's will make me change what I want to do and all that, because it slightly increases the drawdown as well. So use mitigation, set to false. Now, execute on switch on, and you will see the reason why that needs to be there very, very shortly. So I'll come back to that particular setting. So, and then of course you have the delete time. Again, this should be set as early as possible, right? It's basically a fail-safe. So normally it's been designed into the EA that pending orders should be deleted at the beginning of a new day. So, but on some brokers around that time, they disable trading. So you can't delete those orders. So this should be set as early as possible based on the time you've gotten from your specification. But majority of the time, it's not even going to get to that before the order is deleted if your broker is solid in offering real 24-hour services. All right. So of course your magic number, I would encourage you just change it to whatever. Right, change it to anything you want. It's just a numerical value. Change it to whatever you want. All right. So when you click on this, and you click on OK, you basically get the buttons on your screen. So the first button is basically your bias, right? It's basically your bias. All you have to do is change this, click on this, changes to sell, click on it, changes to buy, click on sell, changes to buy, click on buy, changes to sell. So it's that simple, right? So that is all about the bias. You don't have to be going back into the settings to go and change through the selling, through buying, all that. So if you've heard me talk about like ease and all that for a while, you have heard me say that one of the issues I had with creating EADs just trade by themselves is the fact that the things are found to work over time are things that you are really looking at futures, right? And even the futures that are offered by some MT4 brokers are basically the non-continuous version, are the contracts, which usually has a 3 months expiry, right? And you have to be changing to the new forward contract and all. So, but with what you get on platforms like TradingView, you're able to get the continuous contracts, which allows you to just see what is going on continuously. So we'll be getting our buyers from there. So for everyone who gets the EA, the buyers, anytime the buyers to be added to a group. So I'll be dropping the buyers in the group. So if there is ever going to be a change, you would have been prompted ahead of time, and then at the close of the day, you will get a confirmation of that. So all you just need to do is come to your system and click on either buy or sell. So that is basically all that. So once that is done, you need to switch the EA on. So you could turn your EA on and off. You could turn the EA on and off. So you could just turn it on and turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, right? So now let's assume that is why that setting was very, very important that I said I was going to come back to, which is to open a trade on switch on, right? So let's look at that again. So execute on switch on. By default, it is set to false, right? But depending on you, what I'm going to explain next, you should you might probably want to set it to true, right? So the whole purpose is that it is assumed, right, that immediately the trend changes, then you're going to get to your charts before the trade starts time and adjust your bias as appropriate when there is a trend change. Now, but what if for one reason or the other, you are not able to do that? And then it's a bit later in the day, and then you then get to your chart and see that, or you to the Telegram group and then say, oh, trend has changed. I need to change this and all that. So you have two options. Either you say, okay, for today, I'm not going to enter a trade, and sometimes that could impact, of course. If it goes on to be a winning day, then you lose the profit you would have made on that particular day. Or you could say, okay, I want to get involved. So if this is on, all right, if your um, trade on switch on is set to true, then immediately you change your bias and click on, right? It's going to take a trade. It's going to evaluate it and then take a trade, right? So that is basically how that works. So it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple and all that. So as the bias is changing, you could just change that and move. All right. Now, the as to regards to risk management and what you could do with the EA. All right. So there are a couple of things you could do. So the first one is you could use it to trade funds, just not put funds in your broker account and trade it. It is programmed to work with whatever because it's using risk per trade, so it can work with even small accounts. It's not martingale, it's not doing any of those crazy things that can quickly run up an account. It's not just we're not just using random lot sizes. It's based on a percentage of your balance, right? It's based on the trades are taking. The risk is a function of the balance of the account. So you could have even the two pairs running concurrently. Of course, what that means, right, is that you will have the combined drawdown and the combined profits. All right, so you need to understand that you will have the combined drawdown and the combined profit of the two pairs running together. Now, pairs that works on, I recommend just stick to EU and GU. I've tested EU as well, but it's less profitable. So it works best on pairs that are highly correlated to the USD, right? Because we are using USD for our buyers, right? So we're using the USD for our buyers. So if you've been following my channel, of course, you know that's where I trade. Basically, we use the USD for our buyers. So that is basically that about that. So you could combine the two of them into one account. Of course, you could still go ahead and play with the risk settings more if you feel like. You could say, I want to just trade, put EU on one account, put GU on a separate account, and then run it together, and then run it like that. Or you can say you want to put the two of them in one account, and then you're able to continue trading. Of course, you can increase the risk depending on what you are willing to endure, right? But I strongly recommend that under no conditions should you go beyond 2% per trade, right? I strongly recommend that you should not go beyond 2% per trade because you also don't want to run up so much drawdown that because you know the lower the account balance goes when it's taking new trades, the it's going to take you a longer time to come back out of that drawdown, right? It's going to take you a longer time to recover from that drawdown because it is based on the current balance at the time, right? So the amount that you will be making will be less than what you would have made if the account balance was a bit higher. But again, it's up to you. I'm just giving what I feel is my own recommendations. So if you get the EA, you could play around with it and then come up with what works best for you. All right. Now, the next thing you could want to do is you could decide to use it to trade prop firms. Can it be used to trade prop firms? Yes. Now, I need to make a caveat. If it is a prop firm that says that they do not allow you to trade around news times, that you must close all your trades before or after a news event, then you cannot use the right? So you cannot use the EA with that. For me, any prop firm that is really doing that, I'm not really so keen on working with them because that is basically stopping swing traders from trading, and this is a swing trading system. So of course, that is not an issue with FTMO and all the rest. So could you use some prop firms? Yes, but of course you want to take down your risk, right? You probably want to reduce your risk. You could see that on EU, the using 0.5%, good. You're going to be getting here the hundreds and all that, but you have a 10% drawdown. All right. So the safest bet is cut your risk by half, right? 0.25 percent per trade, and then run it. I know that online, people, this is not for flipping accounts. Let me just be blunt about it. All those people that say you flip 100 to 500 and all that. For me, of course, anyone that's followed me for a little bit of time knows that I consider that just irresponsible way of doing things and all that. But it's what they want to do. Anybody can do anything they want to do. So what I advise to do is you could start, especially if you are starting with a small account. We'll still come back to what I will call, uh, like say, responsible gambling kind of thing with prop firms, but we'll still talk about that later. So the easiest way to trade with it, you're getting about 50% thereabouts. So assuming the about 15% is used to pass your phase one, phase two, assuming the prop firms, that's what tends to be the standard now in the industry. 10%, 10% phase one, 5% phase two, and that's 15%. So you are left with about 35%, let's even say 30%, right? For the rest of the year. If you are patient, if you are patient, that is still a good return. Even on, yes, if it's a very, very small account, it might look like nothing. But considering the fact that more than 90 to 95% of traders always are profitable, basically, then it's a very, very good return. And of course, you could keep building that slowly. Now, of course, if you are trading a 50K, 100K, 200K accounts, then the returns become really crazy, right? Becomes really crazy, even with that very, very reduced risk. Now, because the way it trades is taking about 0.25% per trade, it basically means if you're using it straight from firms, it basically means that you're on average on a day, let's say you even hit all the number of trades, the maximum number of trades that you are supposed to run, which is about that's 3 trades. What is basically committed in the market is 0.75%, right? So it's very, very difficult to go ahead and hit the daily drawdown limits that you have. So you're not really so worried about that particular one. So that is basically how you probably want to use it for just patient, normal, responsible trading with prop firms, right? Just take it, give it a time, give yourself, say, I'm going to use 1 year to trade this to about, and make about 30%, 25%, 35%, whatever on the accounts, and then basically continue from there. Just build it slowly. Of course, it's a hands-free system. It doesn't require you, apart from when you're coming to change your bias. So it's just basically something that's operating on its own. All right. The other one you could do is what many of the online influencers do that you don't get to know about even when they are posting all these things they are posting. So, and that is basically to look at the overall rewards to risk, right? A situation where you could get like 3 or 4 accounts, all right, and say, I don't care what happens to one, as long as at the end of the day, what I have gotten out is way more than what I have put in. So you see people at some point, many firms started cracking down on using your full daily drawdown to trade. So some people, what they were doing was basically you have 5% daily drawdown, so you risk 5%, right? So you risk the full 5% on a maybe say 1:2 or 1:3, or 1:2.5, whatever. All right. So once that particular trade, it's either it's hitting full TP or hits loss. If it hits full TP, you've passed the account in one day, you move to the next stage. If it hits loss, you basically lose the account and repeat again, and then hope that eventually you're going to pass one of them, and then the returns basically cover the rest. So how can you do something like that with this? So let's assume we've seen a situation where you have about 10% drawdown on a 0.5% account. So using 0.5% risk per trade. So what you could actually do is to say, I'm going to get like 2, 3 accounts, right? I'm going to start it on the first one. Now, if it goes to go and hit the 10% drawdown, then I start a new one, right? And I'm not worried about um, whatever, because I know that at the end of the day, I am going to make. So let's assume that you just start it and then you just go straight to your 10% drawdown, or you go up a little bit, then come down, then eventually 10% drawdown, whatever. You're using 0.5% risk. So what that means is then you stop trading the account, you get a new account, then you put it again, and then from there you go up, and then over a 1 year period, you're doing 100% on the account. So that means you basically used 15% of us, then you have it 5%. It covers whatever thing was used to get the evaluation account, right? And leaves you with plenty profit, of course. 5%, you can compare 5% with 35% if we are using the safe method. So it's more, but of course, more risky as well. So that is another way that someone could approach it. For you to use that method, again, you need to be ready to spend more money on getting evaluation accounts or whatever. So that is basically the 3 ways for now that I vision anyone could decide to use the EA. All right, so that's I think I've been able to touch on the main points of the EA. Of course, if anyone has any questions, you could always ask under the video. You could reach out to me personally. The other thing that's I need to warn about is you want to use a broker who is want to use a relatively reputable broker if you are trading any system. You also want to get a good VPS if you decide to do it well, except you are sure that your system is going to be completely online virtually all through the day. You'll be needing a VPS, of course, for anyone who has used EAs in time past, like trading EAs, not just EA, it's like the executioner that is used for trade management purposes. If you've used any EA that's traded by itself, you need a VPS for it to function effectively. So I will drop a couple of recommendations as to the VPS to use. One of the things you want to look out for in a VPS, good VPS provider, is that you want a situation where anytime they do upgrades, because from time to time, it's not like your own system that you say, I'm not going to update. Most times there are updates is automatic, is scheduled, and then it basically takes place. And then sometimes you realize that you now discover that your system is off. The VPS is basically off, or even if it was restarted, your MT4 is not loading. So you want to use VPS providers that provide a particular software that automatically allows you to restart certain programs. So you use that particular program to restart your MT4. So immediately the MT4 restarts, your MT4, immediately the system restarts. Immediately the system restarts, your MT4 is restarting with it as well. All right. All right. So that is that about the VPS aspect. However, I've also taken out the time to build in alert functions into the EA. So whenever you load it on any MT4, of course, you could come here, go to options, and then enable push notifications. All right, enable push notifications, and then put in your mobile MT4 MetaQuote ID. So if you log into your MT4, your mobile MT4, you could actually just Google this one on how to get your MetaQuote ID. It's not something I can really include in this video, but basically what you want to do is to log in and then go to the last those things that thing that looks like a comment right there, and then you'll see at the top of your screen you will see MQID. So once you put in that particular MQID here, you will receive trade alerts. You receive alerts on whatever thing that's happening. So if your terminal is disconnected, so for whatever reason, the MT4 gets disconnected from the internet, you will receive a message. If the MT4 gets, if the EA gets removed, so that could be due to the fact that the license has expired, or it could be that the MT4 itself was shut down, right? You also get an alert. So that enables you to take the necessary action as well. All right. So with regards to availability, it's going to be available on the websites for anyone who wants to order it. So it's going to be available on the website from today. It has both the MT4 and the MT5 versions, depending on which one you want to use. Now, whenever you are getting it, as we move into pricing, you are basically getting either a 6 month license or a 1 year license, depending on what you want to do with it. So, I basically had to throw it open to the FXP guys. I said, okay, how much should I charge for this? And we are basically just picking the lowest prices. And given the fact that the EA, if you look at the returns and what is possible with the EA, I said this EA is not going to be cheap when compared to the other EAs we have that basically don't do what this does and all that. So for between now and the end of November, because at the end of today, by the time I do the market preview video, we're going to also announce the Black Friday sales that will be taking place. So the price of the trend engine for the 6 months license is going to be 150. It's going to be 150, and the price of a 1 year license is going to be $250. Right. So that is basically going to be the pricing. So we'll announce a Black Friday sales as well, which would kind of reduce the price a little bit all through this particular month of November. And the Black Friday, of course, is going to be covering all the products on the site. So that's basically how that is going to be. So 150 for a 6 month subscription and license, and 250 for a 1 year license. All right. So how many accounts could you have on one license? 3. You could have 3 accounts on one license, right? Of course, if you them not shoot myself in the leg. All right. So that is basically that's about that. So Trend Engine, very great tool. Finally happy that something like this is out. Personally, I am happy that something like this is out. Even if nobody buys it, really, for me, it's a major kind of breakthrough for me. So for those who I announced it to them those who are in the FXP are going to be getting a 1-year license free, right? So everyone that is in the FXP is going to get a 1-year license free. Talk about the rest in the market preview. So the trade engine is finally here. Get yours while it's still the way it is, because I can't guarantee you that that price will be the same by the beginning of next year. All right. Have a pleasant day.